Hi there. Welcome to our second cutting. Not cutting, but sewing and cutting and ironing. Woo! I know that we've been spending quite a lot of time prepping, and I want to remind you that it's like painting a room. That's the only thing I can think of, but I'm sure there's lots of things. We're still in the prep part of this quilt. And it's important to do this because it will make, when we start doing the blocks, the last thing you want to do is go, oh man, I got to make those half square triangles, or oh man, I didn't make those 4-patch blocks. You want to have all that ready because it's so exciting once you start putting blocks together. You want to just finish faster and faster and faster and faster and get it done so you can see what all this work is about. This is the last part of our prep. So the next time that I do a video, we will be making our first block. So kind of exciting, huh? But this time it's a little bit easier than the half square triangles, and I have a ton. You should have a huge stack of half square triangles. You probably have them all, labeled and stuff like that, and that's wonderful. I still haven't trimmed all mine. I'm going to be working on that since this is a little bit easier of a week to do, but I've got about half trimmed and half not. So yes, let's see which ones are trimmed. I was going to show you. I say half. It looks like less than half. Dang, where are they? Because I know I have some trimmed. Okay, this is what they look like trimmed. And you've ironed to the dark side. And this is what they look like trimmed. And this is what they look like untrimmed. So it's a big size difference. You're definitely cutting down to size. So make sure that you get those all trimmed down and ready. If it's difficult for you to do that, you can trim when you're doing your blocks. Sometimes I do that if just the trim job is just too much and I don't want to spend 2 hours trimming. Okay, I'm using 4 for this one. I'll trim this 4 and then move on. But you'll have a little bit of time this week. The 4-patch blocks don't take as much work, and there's no trimming. So you have a little bit of time to catch up on your half square triangles if you have not done that. So today is about the 4-patch block. It's easy. It's just put some fabrics together, sew them up the sides, cut in the middle, put them on top of each other, sew across the top and bottom, cut in the middle, and you get these beautiful 4-patch blocks. So if you are ready, let's get started. I'm excited. Okay, we're gonna get started now. And like I said, I'm super excited about this because this will be the last one before we start doing the blocks. So I have my design board. I'm sorry, there's lots of threads on it. So what you're going to do, you follow the directions. I can't give away too much because it is a pattern that people have to purchase. So you're going to, we put it this way because you're going to put your background on top of this one like this, kind of. Make sure it evens up. Sorry, I'm doing it with one hand. I should probably use 2. And then you're going to take this one and put it on top of this one. That way, they're, you could sew them together right side, but it kind of gives you a reminder that they need to be opposite. So then we're going to sew 1/4 inch down on each side. You don't have to mark anything. You just sew on each side. I'm going to chain this, move my design board out of the way. I already have my 1/4 inch foot on. I'm using a scant 1/4 inch foot. It's called the Perfect foot with Foth machines. And so I'm just going to sew that 1/4 inch down, and then I'm going to grab this other piece, make sure it's lined up on here, and I'm going to sew down. Then I'm not going to take this apart. This is how I chain piece. I'm not going to take this apart. I'm just going to turn it around, and then I'm going to sew up the other one. I do want my needle down. And then I'll just slide that one right underneath. Okay, so this one's a lot easier than the half square triangles. Not that half square triangles are difficult, but this one's even easier. So I'm just going to snip these apart. Then according to the directions, which I should have somewhere, yes, they're right here. We need to cut these in half in between where we've sewn. So you see we've sewn on this line and we've sewn on this line. So we're going to cut straight up. And I have my little cutting mat right here. I didn't grab a ruler though. Let me grab a ruler. It's a good thing about being so so right in space. So use your instructions, and let's see that. So long. Cut. It just says cut units in half. So you know what size your unit is. I'm just going to make sure. That's what I thought. I'm going to line it up and trim in half. So now I've got two pieces that are connected by that seam, right? Two pieces like this. Okay, we're going to set those aside, and then I'm going to cut this piece. Same way, you cut it in half, line it up with the ruler, and cut in half. I decided to do everything here because there's not a whole lot of cutting and ironing, so I'm even going to iron in this space. I do want to poke that up. Okay, so now we have these two pieces and these two pieces. What I'm going to do, and let me see, yeah, it doesn't tell you which way. I'm going to go ahead and iron these open. So what I wanted to talk about, this was something just when I was in Richmond a couple weeks ago. Oliso was there, and I found this super cute, and I absolutely adore this wool mat. So what it is, it's a build-a-mat, basically. So you can use these, and these act as grippers underneath so it doesn't slide so much. But you can build this however big you want to. And I just have the two pieces here, and it can set right here by my machine, and I can do a little bit of ironing. I'm going to move the cutting mat to the side. Let's just deal with what we're dealing with. And I'm going to put the mat here so you can see me iron. I was upset last time you couldn't see me press so much. Okay, so I am going to press these seams open. What I'm going to do is press and just set the seam, right? Just so that's nice and flat. And the great thing about these wool mats, number one, I've noticed that this one doesn't smell, and it is very thick and very heavy. It's New Zealand wool, so really, really great material, and I'm going to be getting some of these in very soon. Okay, so what I did there is I just kind of slit it just to make a sharp line to the side there, and just open that up. And this Oliso iron has a nice point, so it opens that seam pretty well. And then I'm just going to press it a little bit, then turn it over and give it another little press right there. All right, so that's one, and we are going to do all of these. Set my seam, open, press a little bit, and I'm not pushing down when I do that. I'm just kind of opening that seam, and then I push down a little bit. The good thing about wool is it gives you a really flat seam, and I love that. And I really love the fact that doesn't have as much of a smell, if at all. I'm not smelling it right now. All right, so this one's nice and easy. It's going to give us oops, that one unfolded a little bit. There we go, one more, and then we get to sew again. This one is really easy, and you don't have trimming and all that kind of stuff to do. We are still going to take 2 weeks on this one, so I can catch up a little bit. But also, you know, we have busy lives. I know I do. Okay. So now what you're going to do is take these. I'm going to put the mat out of the way. And you're going to put opposites together. So like this is a large one and this is another one. What you are going to do is you're going to put them on top of each other, opposite sides. So the pink is over here. What you put on top, the pink is going to be on the opposite side. And I probably could have ironed these back and forth. That might have made a little more sense, but I don't like the bulk when we're doing these. Yeah. It might be better. I think I'm going to change my mind here. She's not telling you, but I'm going to change my mind. We're going to iron it to one side. I've been told I change my mind all the time. I guess I'm changing my mind here. So we're going to iron this to one side. The darker ones, we're going to iron one way, and these we're going to iron the other way. So I'm going to start with these, and I'm going to iron well, you iron both to the dark side. Iron to the dark side. So ideally, you iron open and then to the side. That way you get a really straight line. It doesn't seem to hold as well when I do that though, but I think this is going to really work. So we're going to iron to the dark side on both of these because you're putting them opposite. They will match up. And then that way our points when we're doing the little 4 block will work better. They'll match up better, because you can nest that seam. And I know I should be more organized. I'm sorry, the phone's ringing. Nobody's here. It's Monday morning. We're closed. I'm sorry I'm not a little more organized. I have not made these in a really long time. And I kind of forgot the little nuances of things that I do. I'll try to get better with that when we're putting the blocks together. Okay, so now that we have nested, one of the things that you'll see is that they nest together very easily now, right on top of each other. All right. I am going to actually pin this. I'm just going to give it a couple of pins just so we can keep that seam when we're sewing. Just give it a couple of little pins, okay? And then the next one, remember you're not putting the pinks on top of each other, but you are doing, you know, 2 different fabrics. These are both kind of pink, so darker pink, so it's a little bit more difficult to tell them apart. But as you're doing some of the others, it will be a little more apparent. All right, I'm just going to pin this. I want those seams to stay to stay closed too. All right, then what we do is we are going to sew across here, the top, and across the bottom. Okay, we're going to sew top and bottom, and then we're going to cut in half, and we'll get our we will get our our 4 blocks. All right, here we go. And again, I'm going to chain piece this. And I pinned in a way that I don't have to move those pins. That way it's a little bit easier while I'm sewing. It goes a little bit faster. All right, down the other side, and you're going to be going against this, so get your stiletto and hold that seam down. Don't put your fingers up in there. We don't want any needles through fingers. Put that under there. Use that stiletto. All right. Get my cutting mat out again. Then I'm just going to snip these open, and I'm going to remove those pins. I really like how this is coming together. Okay, and then same thing, you are going to cut in between your 2 sew lines. You're going to cut in half. I always measure, you never know, so just kind of measure it, make sure you've got, you know, you're cutting the right amount. All right, cut in half. Let's do this one in between your 2 sewn lines. I'm going to measure just to make sure. Okay, and then we're going to cut in between these 2 lines. And I'm going to move this because we need to iron. How fun is this? That is pretty much it. Close my rotary cutter up. That is it. You have made your 4 patch blocks. How fun is that? And how beautiful is that? Now this is the one I'm going to iron open. I am going to iron to reduce that bulk from those 2 going, and see how it goes on each side there. And then I'm just going to, if I can't get it, I'll get my stiletto out. I am not going to burn myself to open up a seam. Such pretty little 4 patches. Turn it over. I always turn it over and give it another press. Kind of goes from the other side. Gets nice and flat. Look how pretty that is. So gorgeous. Okay, you have a lot more of these to do. There are 9 sets total. So you'll have 36. 9 times 4 is 36. You'll have 36 of these when you're done. 36 sets. So use your pattern to match up which colors go with what. Beautiful. Pressing is, you know, it's just as important as a nice cut. You get a nice press on something. And again, sorry that I told you to open and then we ended up going to the dark side. Note to self, go to dark side when you're going to be matching up seams. Because, and I'll show you in just a second, I want to get them all ironed out or pressed out, how they all matched up perfectly. And that's why we did the seams this way. And I know a lot of y'all know that, but this is a skill builder quilt, so I am going through things a little slower and a little more meticulous. I'm not a perfect teacher, but I try my best. So see, that point lines up, that point lines up, that point lines up, and that point lines up. That one's not as perfect, but it's super, super close. And I love that. Now, I tend to kind of like trim my stuff up, get it all clean for when we use it. But that is the gist of this one. Like I said, you're going to make 36. The easy thing about this one is you're not trimming. So that makes it go a little bit faster. You probably can do this in a couple of hours, especially if you get them all lined up and you do that chain piecing. Like I said, you can knock them out pretty quickly. All right, this time this is our 4-patch blocks. They look amazing, and once you get all those done, this is, again, we're going to go 2 weeks with this one, and then we're going to be on the blocks. Wow, we're already about, a quarter of the way through. It's amazing. All right, I will see y'all in a couple weeks. Y'all have fun sewing these blocks.